Hi, how's it going? And welcome to another video. Now, if you can remember, not too long ago, I did an album review on Judas Priest's second album, Sad Wings of Destiny. Well, I want to do another album review today on another Judas Priest album. And this album is Judas Priest's fourth album, Stained Class. Now, this is the album cover right here. As you can see, Judas Priest had changed their logo on this album. The first three albums had more of a gothic-looking font. This album cover, this album logo looks, a bit more sci-fi or a bit more, has a bit more futuristic look to it. But yeah, definitely an excellent album. It really is. This album came out in 1978, and the interesting thing about the album is that it definitely sounds ahead of its time, and yet at the same time, it sounds very 70s. So that's kind of interesting how that worked out. But yeah, around this time, Judas Priest started gaining some popularity. In 1977, Judas Priest opened for Led Zeppelin on their tour. Judas Priest at that time was promoting their album Sin After Sin, and with Led Zeppelin they went and did a tour of America, and that gave Judas Priest a lot of exposure to Americans, and they began to become more popular. Now, the end of 77 they went into the studio, and then in 78 they put out this album. Now, I'm a big fan of 1970s Judas Priest. I prefer 1970s Judas Priest to 80s Priest and beyond. I like that stuff too. I like all Judas Priest. But I just think the 1970s Judas Priest was a bit more creative, a bit more imaginative. I think it was more meaningful. I think it had more texture to it. There was more emotion to a lot of the songs. So, yeah, I'm a bigger fan of 1970s Judas Priest. But, yeah, like I said, around the time this album came out, Judas Priest was becoming a bit more popular. And the songs on this album are just great. There's really some great Judas Priest songs on this album. The first song is the song Exciter. Now, Exciter is sometimes regarded as the first speed metal song. And if you listen to it, you could definitely hear that. Because although Judas Priest did not invent thrash, and they'll be the first to tell you that they did not invent thrash, they did speed up some of their songs a bit. And you could hear it on songs like Exciter. Now, around the time this album came out, punk was also big. And Judas Priest was well aware of what was going on around them. I don't know how much of an influence punk music had on Judas Priest's music, but like I said, you can tell Judas Priest did speed up some of their songs a bit. And Exciter is just a great song. It has some great melodies to it. It has some great vocal harmonies. The guitar melodies are great. And when I first heard this song, I actually thought it was about like a superhero or something. But then when I read the lyrics, it sounded to me more like it was a song about LSD. But yeah, at the same time, it's kind of hard to tell what the song is about because Judas Priest lyrics are always kind of esoteric. The song's no exception to that. So it could be kind of hard to tell sometimes, like I said, what the songs are about with Judas Priest. And that's what I always kind of liked about Judas Priest. I like how they kind of made it kind of esoteric, where you don't always know what the song is about. But yeah, anyways, it's definitely a great song. Second song on Stained Class is White Heat Red Hot. And White Heat Red Hot has some great riffing in it. It really does. The third song on the album is Better By You, Better Than Me. Now, this is the song that created some controversy because in 1985 in Reno, Nevada, two teens listened to Better By You, Better Than Me for a period of 6 hours and then made a suicide pact and shot themselves. One of the teens died instantly. The other teen lived on for another 3 years and then died. The teen said that they were influenced by some subliminal messaging that they heard on the song, and they said that the subliminal message was "do it." Well, Rob Halford has talked about this. Do what? Mow the lawn, do the laundry, do what? So it's just kind of a strange thing that had happened. There was a lot of controversy surrounding it. Judas Priest had to go to court. There was a trial, took place in 1990, and Judas Priest was not convicted on anything, and I think the case might have even been thrown out. But yeah, it was just kind of a strange incident. And here's the other weird thing. It's not even a Judas Priest song, it's a cover. The band that wrote the song was a band called Spooky Tooth, and it was on their album Spooky 2. Now, I actually like Spooky Tooth's version of Better by You, Better Than Me more than Judas Priest. But, I still like Judas Priest's version. I still think Judas Priest had a good version of the song, nonetheless. The song was actually written by the keyboardist of Spooky Tooth, an individual by the name of Gary Wright. And Gary Wright claimed, according to what I had read or heard about at some point, he claimed that the song was about the Vietnam War, that it wasn't a suicide song. It's a song about the Vietnam War. Now, I've listened closely to the lyrics, and there again, it kind of sounds pretty esoteric, where it's difficult to make out what the song is about exactly. But, yeah, Gary Wright, who wrote the song, would then later have kind of a successful solo career, where he had a hit with the song, the song was Dreamweaver? Yeah, Dreamweaver. And it ended up being kind of a big hit. Probably you've heard the song Dreamweaver. It was pretty popular. But, yeah, so that's Better by You, Better Than Me. After that, you have Stained Class. Now, Stained Class has that kind of classic new wave of British heavy metal sound to it. That very gallopy kind of sound. And definitely, I think it influenced a new wave of British heavy metal, because this album came out in 1978, a couple years before the whole new wave of British heavy metal really took off, or at least a year before it took off. Yeah, definitely an excellent song. Got some great singing on the song. You have some great guitar parts on the song. The riffing's good. It's just a real good song all the way around. Then after that, you have the song Invader. Now, in the beginning of that song, there's kind of like a UFO sound. So the song sort of has like a sci-fi kind of feel to it. And definitely a good song. After that, you have Saints in Hell and then Savage. Now, Savage is Judas Priest's Native American song. A lot of these British heavy metal bands would have a song about Native Americans. Saxon, for example, has the song Great White Buffalo. Iron Maiden has Run to the Hills. And Judas Priest have Savage. And it's a great song. Definitely a good song. Now, after that, you have the masterpiece of the album. And that, of course, would be Beyond the Realms of Death. Now, this song is very influential. You could tell that bands like Metallica were probably influenced by it, because it does kind of sound like Fade to Black. It also kind of sounds a bit like One, at least lyrically it kind of does. But I think it probably influenced Fade to Black a bit more. From what I can hear, it definitely seems like it very well may have. This is a song that starts out slow, and then it gets heavy, and then, it gets slow again. And lyrically, it's very interesting, because it's kind of hard to tell what this song is about. The Verse lyrics seem to be about an individual who's in possibly a mental institution, or maybe he's in some other kind of a facility, and he just cuts himself off from society. Then the chorus lyrics deal with how the individual is free in his own mind. So it's a very escapist kind of song. That's what I've always loved about metal songs. A lot of them are very escapist. You know, some of them will deal with history and escapism into the past with, you know, historical songs. Some metal songs will be about mythology and will deal with escaping that way. Some metal songs will be about fantasy and be more fantasy themed. Other songs will deal with escapism through some form of like disembodiment, you know, becoming disembodied. And that seems to be what song is possibly about, you know, escapism through becoming disembodied. But there again, it is kind of hard to tell exactly what the song is about. But yeah, it definitely is a very well-written, well-composed song. And Judas Priest were always such great composers. I even like how they say the song title at the very end of the song. And the song title's, you know, never mentioned throughout the song, not even the chorus. The only time they mention it is at the very end of the song. And I like how they did that. You know, I thought that was pretty creative, because you don't hear that a whole lot in songs. And the guitar solos, the guitar solos on Beyond the Realms of Death are outstanding, especially the first one. The first guitar solo on Beyond the Realms of Death is awesome. I mean, it's probably Glenn Tipton's best guitar solo. And then again, I really like the one he did in Dreamer Deceiver as well. But the solo he does in Beyond the Realms of Death is truly amazing. I mean, it has a number of different parts in it. It's not a shred solo. It's more melodic and soulful, and has a lot of feeling to it. And there's a number of different melodic parts to it. And definitely a great solo. Sounds a lot like a David Gilmour solo. You know, David Gilmour being the guitarist from Pink Floyd. It kind of has that sort of sound to it. You know, like something he would kind of do. But, yeah, excellent guitar solo. Glenn Tipton is a very underrated guitarist. In fact, the only guitar player I could think of who's ever cited, or that I'm aware of, who's ever cited Glenn Tipton as an influence has been Kerry King from Slayer. And Kerry King was also a big fan of this album, I should mention as well. He's often cited this album as being one of his favorite albums of all time. Certainly with songs like Beyond the Realms of Death, definitely, you know, add to this being a great album. And after the Glenn Tipton solo, there's also the KK Downing solo. The KK Downing solo is good as well. You know, KK Downing's great in his own right. It's more of a shred solo. It's not as melodic as Glenn Tipton's, but it's still a good solo nonetheless. But yeah, I myself prefer Glenn Tipton's though, but, you know, still a good solo. And yeah, just a great overall, you know, song. And after that one, you have the song Hero's End. That's another good one. And depending on which version you have, I actually got a remastered version of the album, a remastered version that came out in 2001. And they had an extra song on it. They had the song The Fire Burns Below. And that's also a good song as well. But yeah, overall, this is just a great album. A lot of good songs on it. Beyond the Realms of Death is a song that Judas Priest plays in concert to this day. They've played it in concert a lot. In fact, when I saw Judas Priest in concert, they played Beyond the Realms of Death. The other songs on the album, I don't think Judas Priest really plays a whole lot. But, yeah, so Yep, that's all I've got. You know, if you watched this video, I hope you enjoyed it. It's definitely an excellent album. You know, if you haven't heard it, I definitely recommend checking it out. Stained Class by Judas Priest. That's all I've got. If you watched this video, I thank you for watching. Have a great night.